So for today's deck testing video, we're going to take a shot at trying out the new monthly card. I'm going to attempt to play this in a mid-range scout deck. This deck's going to have a little bit higher top end than I would traditionally have in mid-range scout, mostly because we want to see if we can take advantage of the Blackwood Distiller's Pilfer effect. Hopefully that will, drop us into a Bone Daddy, a Baroness, Blood Magic Lord, Tazcat, etc. So, whether or not we even see the card, who knows? But just like all of the other deck testing videos, we're gonna hop onto the ladder, play 2 games with it, and win or lose, share the results. So, right out of the gate, would appear that we are up against Hlaalu. Big shocker there. We're going first against Hlaalu as well, which probably isn't the best for us. I mean, at least we have a relatively low curve here. We do also have a Distiller. Not that it matters in this matchup. Although, our opponent's passing there might work out well for us. Hope you guys like Thieves Guild recruits, because we're going to recruit some dudes.
Business with House Hlaalu.
If you're wondering why we started Shadow, it's because Hlaalu obviously runs charge creatures. And we would like to not have to deal with that nonsense. It's a shame we didn't have you last turn. They likely have some way to counteract this, but this at least makes them use another resource if they want to trade into our Skulk here, so we're going to be slightly preemptive. Yeah, unless we get... Oh, maybe not. Unless we have a top deck over the next turn or two, this Blackwood Distiller might be all for naught.
Have business with House Hlaalu. If you want to talk business, you've come to the right place.
Very, very interesting. So we clearly want to grab another curse here. So now we have our choices of play more small bodies or play the Distiller. This isn't even a lost cause if we don't top deck something big and nasty, because we can always use the Slay effect. And then if we do get a neat top deck, perhaps we can use the Gain Magicka. So I'm not necessarily against that.
The hist heals and rejuvenates.
I don't think we want to break that rune there either. If they get a Prophecy, we don't have a good way to deal with it. If we were going to break that rune, we would have wanted to attack first and then respond accordingly. Another option last turn could have been Dark Guardian to maybe try to protect the Skulk, but he's already found 2 of the curses, so if they take a value trade here, it's not the end of the world. Alright, so that is a Divine Fervor.
This is none of theirs.
Which is why we do run the Shadowfen Priests in this list.
My business is none of theirs. In our business for the last time.
Alright, so we do not have a fatty. So what we are instead going to do here is just try to take control of the board. We're going to go ahead and take this Slay here, and we're going to also just go ahead and take the Leaf Lurker play, I think. We do have a lot of weenies in our hand, so the following turn here, we are, unless we draw something big and nasty, probably looking at something like Dark Guardian, Assassin, Thieves Guild, or maybe even Windkeep.
Hermamora tests us.
My business is none of theirs.
Attack!
Alright, fair enough. Barrowstalker is also a pretty quality pickup for us, so we're going to take the value trade. We're going to do this, see what we draw. Cliff Racer, solid, but I think what we actually want to do here is still try to take control of the board. Barrowstalker prevents this from outright dying to a firebrand, and then we have our choice of either Dark Guardian here, which would soak 5, and then this could potentially trade in, or we could play the Assassin, but I really like the idea of the Guardian because it prevents us from losing some health. It's also the best saturation of Magicka.
Of the living.
I mean, we're basically sacrificing the Guardian there, but I think that that's okay. Right now, as it stands, we're kind of playing to get control of the board. In my experience, when you play a mid-range deck, now usually I'm on Sorcerer because I think that's a really strong deck right now, but when you're playing mid-range against Hlaalu, you want to fight for control of the board because unless they get a bunch of support action going, you probably outvalue them in terms of your creatures. And as a result, oh, interesting, they went that way, and they had a natural Nord and a Dawnbreaker for the Barrowstalker. Wow, that was not a great outcome for us, like not even a little bit. All right, that was actually downright terrible. What I was starting to say is you typically want to get control of the board and then use that to snowball once you're up a few creatures, but that Dawnbreaker was massive. I mean, it's a unique legendary, not much we can do about it, but kind of took the wind out of our sails here. I mean, we could dig and see if we find answers. I'm trying to think of what we would even want to find at this point that would be better than any of our alternative plays. Because I think we're just dead if we can't deal with some of this.
What have we here?
I mean, at least that helps us soak a bit. I'm not a huge fan of that line, but potentially let's Cliff Racer trade here. Potentially this trades here, but then we also still have to deal with whatever they have in their hand. Oh gods.
Time to fight.
Oh, of course they've got another natural firebrand in their hand. Why wouldn't they?
Attack.
Oh, I'm pretty sure that's game at that point. Because all we're going to draw is Bleak Coast Troll, and unfortunately Bleak Coast Troll does not help us.
I smell the stench of the living.
Again, we're just trying to not die. It's not going well though. I think that this matchup was probably going fine for us if it weren't for some of the top decks that our opponent had, but also these. These are great against control and not very good against Hlaalu, and the fact that we kind of got our hand mucked up with 3 of them, it really posed a problem. We needed at least one of these to be a Shadowfen Priest instead, but that's the nature of card games. Sometimes sometimes you just get a bad draw, and there isn't much we can do about it. Also, the Dawnbreaker. Yeah, speaking of great top decks, because that means another mana trigger. There's no way they don't have a 2-drop in there. Oh wow, I guess I'm wrong. Alright, it's too bad that we aren't at 11 Magicka, because now we just plain lose. If we had 11 and we could maybe high roll a Shackle or the 5/5 guard, that would have been one thing, but
should have been more work.
sadly, that's going to be it for us here. All we can do is bait them and, yeah, pray that they don't realize they have lethal, even though they 100% have lethal. So, awkward game. Hopefully this will go better for us on the next one. We had a distiller active, but no big cards to play. Our opponent played 2 supports, and we had no priests. Our opponent got massive Dawnbreaker value. Other than starting with an unanswered Skulk, I'm not sure much went well for us at all that game. Like, even a little bit. I'm pretty sure that was maybe the worst that game could have went for us. So, let's try to turn it around. So now we're up against Redoran, it would appear. Again, going first. Hey, where were you last game, Mr. Priest? Apparently in this hand. Okay. So we are up against Redoran, still going first.
I smell the stench of the living.
I kind of want to contest that because we don't have much else to play.
I slay the unworthy.
I think we're going to go there and maybe make him chase us a bit.
Wrong place for a midnight stroll.
We stand united.
Rip.
Should have been more work.
Rip us. That is not going to go well. I have to assume he's got something else to pair with this,
Wrong
probably like
a
a Vanguard. Oh, no, okay. Alright, that could have been...
The hist heals and rejuvenates.
Could have been worse. I mean, he's gaining health, but that's not necessarily a big deal for us at the moment. Distiller forces him to use an Edict, which I'm okay with. I think saving this for the Reach is fine. So I think we just contest with this. So we did get to see a Distiller both games. One outcome went exactly the way I would have expected it to.
What have we here?
We'll go contest like that. You know, instant removal. The other one, again, kind of a disappointment we didn't have a single fatty. I don't want to load the deck too much with them because you don't want it to gum up your hand. Although, it turns out that it didn't matter anyway because then Bleak Coast Trolls gummed up our hand. That's interesting too because that's basically going to let me draw 2 cards this turn. Because we're going to break a rune here. Alright, so we got a Distiller.
My scales move in shadow.
Let's go ahead and do that. I know we have the Distiller, but I actually really like the idea of just slapping down a fatty and maybe taking control of that shadow. If they end up going field, Cliff Racer helps us contest there.
I will keep Sotha Sill's people alive.
Alright. So... Galen coming down. We're gonna chase over there to fight my dragon. Let's break a rune before we do other things.
The hist heals and rejuvenates.
I slay the unworthy.
I'm half tempted to use one of these just because then he has to do some sort of buffing over here. But then I lose pairing it with one of the Leaf Lurkers, and I'm not sure that that's better. I think we save it. I mean, we lose the Nahagleave, but we're kind of ahead on tempo right now because we have the better board state. And if we're ahead on tempo and we can make more tempo plays like the Leaf Lurker, like the Cliff Racer, Shadowfen can potentially be tempo as well. I think you err on the side of snowball tempo plays. Shadow Mirror. Wow, he didn't even poke me for one. Didn't even poke me for one.
Herbs can heal.
Alright, so I think this does this. So we could curse Leaf Lurker here. We could just trade in and take it out. We could also just run it over with a Cliff Racer. Curse here. We lose the Curse Leaf Lurker combo, but we save this. Kind of like that the best right now. Rudderin typically doesn't have a lot of ways to do direct damage outside of charge creatures.
Should have been more work.
My scales move in shadow.
And we're gonna lose this trade here, but I think diversifying our lane presence is okay for right now. In the off chance they do run something like Dawn's Wrath. I mean, we've seen some weird inclusions, so this could legitimately be control. Alright, so that cast into time kind of hurts me inside. I like my my face racers. This could very well be control. The Clan Captain and Crusader's Assault feel like mid-range. But some of these other cards could just as easily be control. Mastermind, Rising of Bones, Galen. If it's a mid-range, it's a more top-heavy mid-range list, that's for sure. So we have our Distiller doing work, but not the kind of work we were hoping for. Maybe we'll top deck some love here. Is that a Naked Nord Firebrand? Sure is. Is this like Doomcrag Rudderin? Because if so, that's kind of cheeky. I'm gonna be honest, I kind of don't know what the game plan is of this deck, which means we should probably play this a little bit slow and steady to prevent being surprised. Yeah, so Solitaire says control Naked Firebrands and Clan Captains and such.
Should have been more work.
Say not so much. Again, these are all reactive cards, so I think we just leave it be. I mean, we still have a sizable board presence. I don't see any reason to rush it out. It's 2 Crusaders Assaults gone. I feel like this might even be like an Unstoppable Rage.
Arcase Beard, this day will be mine. Arcase Beard, this day will be mine.
Alright. So, am I to assume that this is what he played Galen on earlier? And then proceeded to draw 2 of them?
Should have been more worthy.
Because it sure looks that way. So, I think our natural plays are...
The forest is my cloak.
Blow that up.
You must be
Silence that one. Just because we want the ward gone. Like, he'll still take this trade, but... I think we do that too. Even if they have Dawn's Wrath or something. We've got a pretty solid lane split here. Only the right side threatens lethal though, we're 1 short. He doesn't know that though. So he can take that trade. Dawn's Wrath and do the things. Windkeep in the field lane also sets this up for like trading in and then blowing up a guard, right? So if he drops like Hive Defender.
Training is over.
Like the play could have very easily been Dawn's Wrath, Hive Defender. Looks like we're gonna go on that round though. What a top deck! Oh, it almost feels dirty.
The forest is my cloak. Do you mind? Hate you.
Alright, so there we go. We got 1 and 1. One game went absolutely horrible. I'm not convinced the Hlaalu matchup's as bad as that game made it look. I really think that was a product of a really quirky draw. But it's hard to know. Only 2 games in, hard to tell if this deck is that inconsistent, that consistent. Distiller felt threatening, even though we never really got to make use of it. It at least required our opponent to make an immediate answer, so I'd say mission accomplished there. Yeah, that's it. As always, thanks for watching, and until next time, may you walk on warm sands.